It's October, so I'm going to be doing some Halloween videos because over on Instagram, the Guild of Calamitous Intent posted a horror film list. Specifically ones that at least somewhat tie into the Venture Brothers. They got references throughout the show somewhere. And I looked at the list and went, wow, there's a lot of horror movies I haven't seen. And since it is October, I thought I'd give them a go. So here's the list. I'm going to try and watch, well, all of these over the next month. Some of them I've seen before, some of them I haven't. And number one on our list is The Hollow Man. Instantly knew I was going to love it because it is Paul Verhoeven and Kevin Bacon and Josh Brolin. All-star cast, brilliant director. I don't know if there's a Paul Verhoeven film I haven't liked. I will probably... That statement's probably not true. I don't know how many of them I've seen. But essentially, the plot of this film boils down to creepy sex pervert genius works out the secret of invisibility and then goes completely insane and it becomes an alien film. Or not an alien film, but as in the film Aliens, where a thing you can't see is crawling around the vents. But first, we're introduced to invisibility straight away because that was something they were easily able to master. We see a rat torn to pieces by an invisible cat. And we also get our first look at Kevin Bacon and his creepy pervert energy as he starts staring through the window at his neighbour as she undresses.
Damn it.
But Kevin Bacon has his breakthrough moment. I think his character's name is Sebastian, but him and Josh Brolin, I literally couldn't see them as anything but Josh Brolin and Kevin Bacon, which is the problem with famous people. So he's figured out the way to reverse invisibility.
I'm a goddamn genius.
They go into the lab, which is full of invisible animals, monkeys, apes, and one giant silverback gorilla. And it's a pretty funny opening.
Not gonna hurt you. Hold still.
So they do obviously the first thing they can think of, which is test the new serum on the ape straight away. And it's a pretty scary moment. Well, less horror scared, the more you're worried this monkey might explode.
To kill Isabel with the new protocol?
Kill? More like liquefy. Lab's prepped.
Well, your objections are duly noted and summarily overruled.
Yes, sir.
But it seems to be working. They inject the ape and its blood starts to glow with this strange new chemical formula. And it's a pretty cool visual effect.
Elevated heartbeat.
There's a few tense moments where you're not sure the ape is going to make it, but they save the gorilla.
Heart rate's up, she's scared. It's okay, guys.
Subject began manifesting almost immediately. Protocol's active quickly.
God damn it, blood pressure crashing, pulse high.
And we learn of a secret romance between Linda, the number 2 of the film, Kevin Bacon's second in command, and his third in command, Matt, or Josh Brolin.
I'm tired of this sneaking around, Lynn. You're gonna have to tell him eventually.
I will. Eventually.
And they're having a secret love affair. She is also Kevin Bacon's ex, and they don't want to tell him because he is a little bit mental. Definitely a power-hungry sociopath, and probably full psychopath by the end of this film.
You're not God. I am.
They're brought into a government committee because they're working on this project for the US government, because of course the US government wants invisible super soldiers. And he lies to this committee, telling them that they haven't worked it out yet and they need more time, because he wants to keep control of his project so he can become the very first invisible man, because he's a power-hungry weirdo who thinks he's God.
How have you solved the problem?
I haven't.
You want to be the first one, don't you? That's what this is all about.
No, this is not about me. This is about...
So they do it. They strap him to the table, inject him with the serum, and he slowly turns into the Invisible Man. They only plan on doing it for 3 days.
Yeah, if I die, pretend I said something deep and clever.
We get to see Kevin Bacon's butt. We get to see some great early 2000s CGI as he transforms from solid to invisible. We get to see Kevin Bacon's invisible penis. Multiple times throughout the film, actually. Other than the murder, probably why it has the 18 rating. Oh no, definitely the rape. Kevin Bacon, not a great guy. The serum probably doesn't help, but not a good guy. Obviously, Kevin Bacon uses his powers to, at first, become an arsehole. As anybody would. You walk around the room and you shout things from the other side, confusing people.
Sorry. Whoa. I couldn't resist.
Okay, now I feel like we're playing Marco Polo.
I wonder where he is now.
Well, I see the procedure's not changed your personality.
Oh, he just brushed by me.
As he's locked away in the lab, waiting 3 days for this serum to see how the serum reacts to humans before they transform him back to normal, Kevin Bacon decides to try out his powers. He starts walking around the lab and he lets this weird pervert energy take control of him. And this is the bit where we're not sure if he was just fucked in the head and this power has made him mental, or if the serum is kind of interacting with him in some way, as he has left the quantum realm to turn invisible, or something like that. As the creepy pervert that he is, he decides to grope the lab assistant. While she's asleep, supposed to be watching over him, he sneaks into the room she's in, unbuttons her shirt, and grabs her breasts. Like a normal person would when they get invisible powers. Definitely not completely weird energy in the slightest. And then he messes around with some Coke cans, screwing with everyone, and his number 2 especially. And then he gets a little bit rapey with her, as he tries to have sex with her while he's invisible. Even though he knows she's in a new relationship, but not with whom yet.
What it's like to make love to an invisible man.
Just be like old times.
What do you mean?
You were never there.
Well, I'm here now. We talked about this once, remember?
What?
You wondered if you'd know the difference.
So they strap him back down to the table and get set to turn him back to normal.
Injection occurred at 0928.
Of course, it doesn't work. Kevin Bacon almost dies, and he is left invisible, unable to turn back. The chemicals didn't work. He's the only one who can probably solve this, and he is, well, by the sounds of it, doomed.
I'm going in spaceship.
Get him on the table.
We lost our signals. Oh, come on, down.
Jesus.
They create him a latex face mask.
Okay, lift. Harder to get the fan.
Which is really creepy, and I guess where the name Hollow Man comes from, as you can see straight through his skull to the back of his head, which is pretty fun CGI. Again, for early 2000 stuff, really great. Until one of the more laid-back technicians is looking after him. And he decides he's going to, well, leave the lab. He goes exploring throughout the city.
What do you mean you're going out?
If I don't get out of here, I'm gonna go nuts.
Yeah, okay, but you're not supposed to leave the compound.
Why not?
And then finally back to his apartment, where he starts to perv on his neighbor again. And you see this creepy thought crosses his mind, and he, for a second, I thought he wasn't going to do it, but unfortunately not. He removes his face mask, he goes fully invisible, and starts to fuck with this woman, knocking on her door, sneaking into her room, and then he just straight up rapes her. Which was not quite where I was expecting the movie to go, but I guess some people are fucked in the head, and if you gave them invisibility, that's the kind of shit they do. And even though it was an extremely weird scene, afterwards the camera work where we sort of are seeing the world from his point of view, from this first person perspective of the Invisible Man, I was quite a fan of. We see him and the more laid back lab tech discussing his escapades of the night before. He never tells the full truth.
Did you mess with her?
Well, maybe I scared her a little.
Yeah? How'd that feel?
I liked it.
He never tells the full truth and then murders the fly, and we can see, or we would be able to see in his eyes, that this is probably the point where he realizes he is more powerful than most men. He refers to himself multiple times as God throughout the movie. Because he's got a fucking God complex, that's for sure. Matt thinks he's come up with a solution, and it's a 95% successful until it almost blows up all of his cells, and they decide not to test it on him.
95%. No!
So he's stuck in the lab for another night, but Kevin Bacon's supposed to be a genius. He sets up the cameras, the thermal imaging cameras on a loop so he can sneak out again into the night. And the creepy pervert that he is, he decides to spy on his number 2 in her apartment. And that's when he sees it. Linda invites Josh Brolin into her room. They start making out and preparing for sex. In his angry rage, he shatters their windows. But the camera loop fools everybody and nobody knows he's gone yet. And once back in the lab, prepared to confront everybody, or not confront them, he decides to murder a dog because it's barking. And this is the bit where we see him truly slide into insanity.
Don't worry, nobody's gonna hurt you. No one.
And our vet, Sarah, is starting to become very suspicious. And she seems to be one of the smarter characters throughout the film. Questioning him at every point. After another night of him locked away in the lab, Linda is getting very paranoid. She's worried that he's going to come for her in her sleep. As he potentially has the power to now. Nobody knows where he is at any time. She goes back, figures out the camera loop, and is going to turn him into the committee. Her and Matt are going to risk their careers by telling the truth, making sure he can't get away with this anymore.
We're going to the committee.
Whoa, shouldn't we wait and talk to him? I mean, he hasn't really done anything.
Hasn't done anything? He killed a dog with his bare hands.
You were there to see.
So they do. They go speak to the boss. They tell him what all of the awful things that Sebastian has done, and they think they've done a really great job.
I'll call General Castor right now and convene the oversight committee. You two go back to the lab. We'll handle Sebastian.
Of course, they don't realize that he's been following them the whole time. And just before their boss can make the phone call, he is dragged into the pool and drowned, and for his unfortunate wife to watch from the window. At this point, the film has gone from sort of a interesting sci-fi concept to a full-on horror, as all of the lab technicians come back into the lab. They're worried because they can't find Sebastian. They've seen the loop and they're pretty sure he's up to something at this point.
Screamer called you?
He's probably still meeting with the committee, trying to figure out what to do.
Well, we should have heard something.
So, as they all arm up, with my phone fully ran out of space, and I lost about 10 minutes of footage. I still have the audio for it, but that's a little bit worthless. So, where were we? I believe I was just getting to the point where all of the lab technicians return to the lab, only to find out they've been locked in by Kevin Bacon.
Than me.
What is it?
There's nothing wrong with the system. Our access codes have been removed. There's only one left.
And now suddenly, it's basically Alien. They're trapped in a confined space with a creature they can't see. Not because it's crawling in the vents, but because he is invisible. So they start to prepare. They arm up with their infrared goggles and tranquilizer guns, but our black lab technician is garroted as Kevin Bacon jumps her with a piece of rope as she is slightly separated from the others. And as they realise, they go onto the loudspeaker, or hear on the loudspeaker Kevin Bacon saying,
"You know what, Matt? It's amazing what you can do when you don't have to look at yourself in the mirror anymore."
He can no longer see himself in the mirror, and therefore doesn't feel guilt. Nothing to do with his god complex, egomania, or the fact that he has actually gone straight up insane at this point. But it's now a proper horror film, as our protagonists find the Black Lady's corpse and realise it's them versus a killer. Linda has found an old system they use for tracking invisible rats around the lab that detects movement. And Matt and our
We've got movement.
laid-back lab technician prepare to kill Kevin Bacon. They arm up, they start hunting him throughout the lab.
If we split here, can we trap him in corridor 8?
He keeps heading in that direction.
All right, I'm on 5.
And we're watching these tiny arrows on a screen, very Alien. Until they round the corner and he's not there. He has vanished, probably gone up into the vents, which have now been set to hot, and we see Josh Brolin getting a little bit confused and aiming for one of them. As Kevin Bacon has clearly been planning all this out. As he turns back around, he sees his colleague being strangled from above. And now he no longer has his infrared goggles on. He shoots wildly, just managing to catch a pipe and releasing a jet of steam. Kevin Bacon drops the lab tech. Unfortunately, he smacks his head on the way down and is bleeding out. Back in the control room, we see the IT guy and our veterinarian heading out to make sure that guy's okay. Female lead Linda starts to head after Matt.
God damn it, the doors are closing, he's shutting me in! You have him?
I got him. He's still there.
Matt tries to look through his infrared goggles, but Kevin Bacon has turned all of the vents onto hot, and now he cannot be seen with them. Matt grabs the fire extinguisher, and they have a scuffle on the floor, and it looks like it's going to be the end of Matt, but Linda reaches him in time and is able to drag him through the door.
Fuck, she's
Our tech guy is trying to help the lab technician while our vet has gone to get more blood because he's bleeding out. She's one of the smarter characters, as I've said before, and as soon as she realizes she's in a room with Kevin Bacon, she pours all the blood onto the floor so she can look for his footprints. Unfortunately for her, he's already behind her. She covers him in blood, they have a scuffle. She loses. She loses and is tranquilized in her breasts. And Kevin Bacon makes a snide reference to earlier in the film where he groped her. And then he snaps her neck.
No, please don't. Please, please.
Sweet dreams. Always admired your feistiness.
The rest of our team come looking for her body, find her in the freezer.
Nothing.
Or the refrigerator, or some sort of cold storage unit. And as they are investigating the body, trying to plan their next move, Kevin Bacon, or Sebastian, impales the tech guy straight through the spine with the crow.
She's dead, isn't she? Motherfucker!
Frank!
Before swinging at Matt, causing a nasty cut into Josh Brolin's chest. But Lynn's able to pull him into the room and they close the door. Unfortunately, it locks from the outside, so Sebastian seals it shut and turns the temperature down to -50. They are freezing to death. While she uses gaffer tape to bandage up Matt, Kevin Bacon starts to dress up. He's planning on walking out of here. He starts doing his eyebrows, putting on a wig, getting his latex mask back on, and making sure he looks good. After way too long in the freezing, Linda realizes that she has to do something, and using the defibrillator, some wire and a metal handle, she creates a magnet and pulls the latch open from the other side. She's able to start a fire to bring warmth back to Matt. At this point, our invisible man has created explosives from sulfuric acid and nitroglycerin. And he has already blown up part of the lab as a test before setting the centrifuge with a 5-minute timer and heading to the elevator. Of course, what he doesn't expect is Linda to be catching up to him. With a gas cylinder in hand and a lighter, she has a flamethrower, and she burns the shit out of that motherfucker.
You don't have a choice.
Yes, I do.
And no matter how invisible or quantum fluxy you are, setting on fire is always gonna hurt.
You think you're God? I'll show you God!
And because it's a Paul Verhoeven film, we get some brilliant, start to get some fun one-liners. You don't have a choice. And as her flamethrower starts to run out of fuel, she hits the sprinklers so she can still see Sebastian even as he runs away invisible. Unfortunately, she's not fast enough and he swings at her from behind. They scuffle on the floor, fight for a bit, but he clearly has the upper hand.
I always knew you were a bitch!
And it looks like it's all going to be over. But Josh Brolin comes to the rescue, smack him in the back with the crowbar. And
Stay the fuck away from her!
And eventually electrocuting him. They seem to have won. Unfortunately, they then find the bomb, realizing there's only 30 seconds left, they have to escape.
No, don't touch it!
What?
Nitro.
They climb the service elevator, or the emergency ladder on the elevator, and start heading up. Kaboom! The lab explodes behind them. The elevator flies up. They both narrowly dodge it. It catches Linda's leg just a tiny bit. Before falling back down. And I think elevators probably have some, better safety regulations than that, I would hope, in top secret government facilities with super high-tech elevators. But they managed to survive, and it looks like it's all good. But it turns out Sebastian isn't dead. He grabs Linda's legs and pulls her back down.
Bracelets.
The ladder breaks with them and Matt is helpless to reach them, stuck watching as Sebastian, the creepy pervert that he is, goes in for a final kiss. Thinking himself God and underestimating Linda for the final time, she flicks the emergency switch on the elevator, grabs onto a wire, and he plummets to his death.
Go to hell.
Not God. Not anymore.
Not God. Not anymore.
Another sick one-liner as she and Matt climb up the elevator shaft to safety, and the final shots in the movie are the US military running into the base as they are pulled into an ambulance. And it was pretty amazing. A little bit too much rape for my taste, but that's what you get with an 80s director, I guess. Would recommend. It's a great horror film. It should be a classic. I can't believe I'd never seen it before now. So check it out. And if you've seen it before, tell me what you think in the comments. Alright, catch you next time. And the film ends. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't realise how much of a goddamn classic this should be. Not the most complicated plot, not the most complicated scenario, but brilliantly acted, brilliantly directed. I would recommend. So, there's my first horror movie review. Let me know what you think. Give me some more. We'll see how this goes. Peace.